Hi all, this is Simona Rich and this is section 4 of the Most Holy TRINOSOPHIA. In its place a lake of fire presented itself to my sight. Sulfur and bitumen rolled in flaming waves. I trembled. A loud voice commanded me to pass through the flames. I obeyed, and the flames seemed to have lost their power. For a long time I walked within the conflagration. Arrived at a circular space, I contemplated the gorgeous spectacle which, by the grace of heaven, it was given me to enjoy. 40 columns of fire ornamented the hall in which I found myself. One side of the columns shone with a white and vivid fire, the other side seemed to be in a shadow. A blackish flame covered it. In the center of this place stood an altar in the form of a serpent. A greenish gold embellished its diapered scales in which the surrounding flames were reflected. Its eyes looked like rubies. A silvery inscription was placed near it, and a rich sword had been driven into the ground near the serpent, on whose head rested a cup. I heard the choir of the celestial spirits, and a voice said to me, "The end of thy labors draws near. Take the sword and smite the serpent." I drew the sword from its sheath, and approaching the altar I took the cup with one hand, and with the other I struck a terrific blow upon the neck of the serpent. The sword rebounded, and the blow re-echoed as if I had struck on a brass bell. No sooner had I obeyed the voice than the altar disappeared, and the columns vanished in boundless space. The sound which I had heard when striking the altar repeated itself as if 1,000 blows had been struck at the same time. A hand seized me by the hair and lifted me toward the vault, which opened to let me through. Shadowy phantoms appeared before me. Hydras, lamias, and serpents surrounded me. The sight of the sword in my hand scattered the foul throng, even as the first rays of light dissipate the frail dream children of the night. After mounting straight upward through the layers that compose the walls of the globe, I saw again the light of day. So this is the end of section 4, and now its explanation. Firstly, the explanation of the image. Upon an altar formed of the 12 whorls of a winged serpent twisted about a spear rests the cup of everlastingness. The device is derived from the cyclic serpent, so often used in the rites of Serapis. The 12 coils of the snake are emblematic of the philosophic year, and the spiral course of the Ain through the zodiacal constellations. In the preparation of the wise man's stone, the elements pass through 12 gates of augmentation. In each of these cycles, the power of matter is intensified, a fact which is suggested by the increasing size of the serpent spirals. The figure is also reminiscent of what the sages termed the philosophic vortex, the natural form of the soul power in the human body. In Isis Unveiled, H.P. Blavatsky writes, "Before our globe had become egg-shaped and round, it was a long trail of cosmic dust or fire mist, moving and writhing like a serpent. This, say the explanations, was the Spirit of God moving on the chaos until its breath had incubated cosmic matter and made it assume the annular shape. In the Chaldean oracles, the universal fire is described as moving with a serpentine motion. The present symbol is the universal wisdom moving as a winged serpent upon the surface of the primitive chaos, that is, the unregenerated body of the neophyte. The ritual of the Sabbatean mysteries included the drawing of a live snake across the breast of the candidate. In the drawing, the serpent is twisted around the backbone, the spear, and forms an appropriate support for the cup of immortality. Beside the strange altar stands the jeweled sword. Faintly traceable upon its sheath are the ancient symbols of the eye, the heart, and the mouth, symbolic of the 3 persons of the creative triad: life in the heart, light in the eye, breath in the mouth. The life, the light, and the breath are the sources of all things, and from their union in the cruciform symbol, the candidate must fashion the weapon for his protection against the elemental darkness. The cycle symbol must be overcome by wisdom. This is the sword of quick decision with which the Oriental neophyte must cut low the snaky branches of the world banyan tree, the emblem of the self-replenishing cycles and the law of rebirth. The serpent is the spiral of evolution. The cup contains the shining nirvanic sea into which the soul is finally merged. The sword is the illumined will, the same sword which solves the enigma of life's Gordian knot by cutting it with a single stroke. The cryptic words on the upper panel carry out this thought. Translated, they are: reverence this vessel, the ark or cup, of everlastingness. Offer freely of yourself a portion unto Iyah or Yah, Jehovah, and to the corner or angle in atonement. This is derived from the symbolism of the Chaldeans, who regarded the universal cause as the lord of the angles. Now the analysis of the text. The candidate enters upon the place of fire, a great sea of flames. The astral world stretches out in every direction, bubbling and seething with an infernal fury. The demon orders the candidate to advance. With his mind fixed upon reality, the disciple obeys, only to discover that the fire has lost its heat and that he walks unharmed into the midst of the conflagration. He finds himself in the temple of sidereal fire, in the midst of which is the greenish gold form of a serpent with ruby eyes and diapered scales. The nature of the fire is clearly revealed, for we are told that one half of it burns with a vivid light, while the other half is shadowed and blackish. Here is the serpent of the astral light, which, according to Eliphas Levi, is twined around every flower that grows in the garden of Kama, or desire. The yogi in his meditation knows well the meaning of the house of fire and the serpent which guards it. Here the candidate discovers the significance of the universal fire spirit, which, turned downwards, is the root of all evil, but if it's lifted up, draws all men to wisdom. The serpent fire must be overcome. The sword is at hand, and with it the candidate strikes at the brazen coils. Brass is the composite metal symbolic of the body of man before it's reduced by philosophy to its simple elements. The lord of the fire world is vanquished. The senses are controlled. The appetites are under the iron dominion of the will. Anger, hate, and pride have been exiled from the soul. The three fires of illusion have died out. The whole mirage of the astral light fades amidst a terrifying outburst of sound and color. The candidate is lifted through the arches of the underworld. He passes quickly through the monsters that dwell on the boundaries of excess. The cruciform sword scatters the foul throng of darkness upward and upward through the numerous layers of the globe, the orbits of the inferior stars. The neophyte rises after his 3 days degrees in the darkness of Hades. The stone is rolled away, and at last, with a burst of glory, he rises into the light of day, the air sphere, where dwells the mind which must be conquered next. The alchemical philosophy is evident. The circular space is a distilling vessel which stands in the midst of the furnace flame. The serpent represents elements within the retort, and the candidate portrays other elements which have the power to dissolve and corrode the serpent. The rising of the candidate upward through the walls of the globe here signifies the vapors which, ascending through the long neck of the distilling vessel, escape from the heated inferno below. So this is the end of the section 4, and in the next video I'll read out the 5th section. Thank you for watching. Take care.